hope so. Thank you very much, and very glad to be here today. It's not often we have visited this kind of events for a long time, so it's good to be here. My name is Henrik Fransson. I'm responsible for the digitalization on the site Hamburg. That means we are looking at strategic ideas how to change the production of tomorrow. And this is what we're going to talk about. This is a human-centric approach for what we call individual context environment. Okay, so we will go deeper into that. So next, please. I need that one. That probably. So that's okay. As you said, I'm working with the commercial department. That means we have two kind of airplane families. It's a single aisle and the wide body. The single aisle is the small ones, where the newest is A220. It's built in the States. It's an old Canadian. And the wide body, as you said, unfortunately, our flagship A380 is out of that nowadays. So we have the A350 and the A330. What's interesting is the A350 is a composite airplane, and we may be coming to that later on in the discussion, because you will say, why do you do the production you do? Why are you working on that way? So it has to do with maintainable. When you buy a product for 60 million, you don't want to change the whole product when it breaks or something like that. Okay, but when we come to user-centric, what was the coolest thing we did? Yeah? For each of you who don't have a license to fly, you say, look at that interface. It's not usable for anyone. But for every pilot, it's great. Because in our product, in all our airplanes, we have the same user interface for the pilots, and the cockpit looks the same. And what we did for the pilot as a user experience is fly-by-wire. They didn't need to pull anymore as hard as they need, so it was actually electronically done. So we have very good experience actually in user-centric, but looking at the production, we have some homework to do. And if you have a customer on the shop floor looking like that, when a data package is arriving, you have done, from a digitalization point of view, the right job. Yeah? Having a person smiling and saying, yeah, that's the thing. Yeah? So what do we need to have the right thing? Yeah? We need the information, the right information at the right place with the right quality. And if we look at how the production at Airbus look like, we have a big product, you know that, you're walking into it when you fly, but our production looks exactly the same. We can't get the material flow through the airplane. Yeah? So we have to have the material outside. That means our workers need to go outside their working position, picking up the material, going back into it, and mount it. And as we have lots of products which are differently, of course, one or two of the materials missing. So do we know if it's missing, or is it delivered on time? So there is a challenge we have. And on the other side, it's the same with the tools. If you fly, you don't want to have a hammer flying around in the cargo where you're flying and killing the systems. You want to see that everything is actually intact. So foreign objects is very, very critical for the airplane industry, and that's why we have restricted tools. The blue color needs to go and check in, check out tools and so on, that they are stored outside. But when they need to go and pick up the tools, and they need to go and pick up the material as well, the drawings. Yeah, because that's another thing. I don't know if you know that, but in airplane industry, we need to store our drawings for 99 years. Yeah, for the authorities. Yeah, they force us to store it 99 years. I don't know if any one of you have done 3D design or something. Think about 95, CATIA V4. Think about opening that today, yeah? Or having it converted now 20 years in 5 different steps. Yeah, how does that model look like? And just one thing, I worked in the program during the Hudson River accident. I don't know if you can remember, it was, we landed on the Hudson River. Yeah? And the day after, the American authorities went to us and asked for all the drawings, all the documentation for that airplane. And we have to give one-to-one exactly what we do. So how to store that actually? We store it in microfilm. That's the best way to store information for 99 years. Yeah? And that means we need to print it in one format. And I will come to that. Okay, so I will come to that. But first, this girl, her challenge. Yeah? She works in the plane. Have you ever heard about the cage, the Faraday cage? Yeah? How do we get the signals in? How do we get the digitalization in that? Yeah? We have tried with robots instead of humans, but there we need to work on outside and inside at the same time. And what is better than human communication, talking through the wall? Try to synchronize two robots on each side, having one station and positioned and one mobile positioned. It's a good challenge. And that's why we go back to the humans. So we need the humans for doing that. What we as well have, brownfield communication, data flow. What do they need to know about changes? Do you look at a 40-page drawing every time? Probably not. You have 10 years of experience. I know how to do it, and maybe I didn't. Yeah? And we have what we as well not know. It's lots of people are working parallel in the plane on different systems. And if someone have a non-conformity, and I work into that, we don't get that information good exchanged either. So what do I have? Exactly. So now we look at when did the single aisle started? It was 1984. We started with a single aisle machine. And the engineering was working in a paper with these drawing boards, these big drawing boards, and the manufacturing engineering as well, and production. But during the time, the engineering had the fortune, I think everyone knows, 2D, 3D, PLM, everything, yeah? And manufacturing engineering got an ERP system thanks to SAP. But the end user never really had anything. Yeah? We haven't invested anything in our added value persons. Huh? So everyone around, which is actually waste, have the nice environment, but our end user didn't. So, do you remember? Yeah? I was traveling to Spain, from Sweden to Spain with my parents when I was a small kid, with a car, actually. We went with a car. It's a very long story. And it's a very interesting, where are the toilets? Where are the fuel stations? Where are the next exit, maybe, you know? The hotels. And having the map book in the trunk, or my mother was trying to translate the directions. That was not that left, it was the other left I meant. So the dialogue in front, I learned a lot of having a user experience looking at the map. Yeah? So thinking about that use case and coming back to, okay, what have happened in the industry? And we looked a lot in the manufacturing industry, and still not much happening on the end user side. But in e-commerce, lots of things happens. So one of the guys who are a big player, where everyone, I think, having a small problem going from one position to another position, use Google Maps. It's a very easy user interface. You have a path you can follow. You have standard instructions. Someone is helping you actually to guide you. You have options. You can have 1, 2, 3 roads. You get information about work constructions. You get information of accidents, because the density of the cars using Google or having the GPS signal, you see it. Yeah? And we thought about, but that's actually my problem at my shop floor. Yeah? When I'm looking at that, I see, okay, I have a process graph. That's actually a map. I can traverse through the process graph. And when I translate check-in, yeah, my people are checking in on the shop floor. They open the work order. Checking out, they're signing off the work order. Okay, it's actually the same as I go from A to B. I check in and I get the road. I have as well alternatives on the shop floor. I can choose which work package I would like to do. And I can, what I don't know today is if I have disturbance on that work package due to other systems. In this case, I would have, and I could be recommended to have another path through that work package. But what do I need for that? What made Google so interesting for everyone? They don't ask you if you have a driving license. They don't ask you if you are drunk or taking drugs. They don't ask you things like that. They give you a service. They give you a service, and for this service, you are ready to give up something. You give up your position, and you give up some of your personal process-related data to Google. Yeah? And in the industry, it's one good use case there. We had sensors. We put a Coupa system. I don't know if you know Coupa, but an indoor tracking system. Sorry, I shouldn't use names. But we put an indoor tracking system. And one of the blue collar read on the box Coupa. And then he went directly to the union and said, "Are you tracking me? I've read in the newspaper one of the big logistic supplier is tracking their colleagues with this system." And we said, "No, we don't. We are tracking material boxes for you." Yeah? Okay, that's good. But every one of them have a smartphone. And they have never thought about that the smartphone has as well a sensor in it. And we're wearing it the whole time. No? And just because I can use the smartphone, in another way, I don't see the threat than I see on a label of a thing in the roof. Okay, so that's a translation we have. So what we're looking for and what we have worked on is using the process graph, giving the colleague service, giving him a service instead of tasks. And he self can then do the task along the way. Yeah? So what we do with tools, it's like, for us, fuel stations. Material is like, restaurants. Yeah? So that along the way, you get to know, is the material there, is it not there? Should I take this work package, a work order, then the information knows that, yeah, the material and the tools are available for that job. Okay. So, but what do we else need? We are working, we are walking, we are having material, we have tools in our hands. That means we need to have some kind of hands-free. Yeah, we have tried to have the smartphone on the arm with a pad. It works, but it's not very great. So we have looked at what kind of head-mounted display can help us doing the job. We have lots of discussion with the Work Council regarding geolocation. In itself, geolocation is not the problem. The problem for the blue collar is when you track the geolocation for a longer period of time. Then you get, of course, his movement patterns. Yeah? But there, and this is the challenge we will talk about you later on in the workshop this afternoon. I will do some commercial for that. Is that information for the company, or is it for the individual himself? Who is the owner of that information? And that's a quite interesting challenge when you come to tracking people. Do you want to track them because you want to give them a service, or do you want to track them because you don't have the transparency and the feeling that you monitor them enough? Yeah, it's a perspective. Yeah? If I ask my boss or my production leader, he would say, "I don't want to see the blue collar playing on their smartphones. They should work. They should do added value." Yeah? But walking and talking, yeah, is that added value? Yeah, communication is very important, but how to get it, yeah? And how to get it fast. And if you look at Google Maps, what they can offer you in kind of communication is brilliant. Yeah? And why don't we use that then? Okay. So what else we haven't really in our company is feedback loops. I don't know if you as well use lots of, we use now Google Meet for video conference. And each time you have a Google Meet, you see after the meet were you happy with the streaming. Yeah? And I read an article about when you have answered that 300 times, Google knows more about you than yourself. Yeah? Because due to the way they know how you react and act in the meeting, because they track that data and as well your response to it, they learn a lot about your behavior. And what we thought about is, hey, we don't have a feedback loop. What we have is like an essay every 4th year. You have 200 questions you give every employee, and they have to ask how happy they are in the company. And well, if you would have every 4 years, you would think about the 4 years. It would maybe give you a good answer, but mostly people said, today I had a problem with my boss, so I'm very unhappy. or I had a really good day, so I'm very happy. But if you do it continuously, and very small questions, and very easy questions with very short period of answering time, you will collect a lot of interesting information about the material, about the process, and so on. And this process-related data, we don't store today. We're very good at storing PLM, PDM system. We are very good to store process data in form of work orders, and we are very good at storing, I don't know what, but a lot of information. But when it comes to people, we don't have anything. And this is what we're trying to do now, to really see how can we store this information and how can we use it for that individual. And what I want to do with that is not to optimize him in the production. I want to optimize the process in front, because they seem to know everything how to do the production. Because we do a left to right. Yeah? The engineering is telling the manufacturing engineering how they to do it, and the manufacturing engineer tells how the production is doing it. But the people themselves, they do the best they can do. They invent things, they do things, they do it differently, due to the fact that they have quite a big room for doing that, as we do on manufacturing. We have not in industrial point of view. Okay, so come to a little bit where we are right now. We have started with the communication. We have set up an information flow to the employees back and forward, that they can do feedback loop. We have created easy notifications. And what happens is we did that with the people together. And what we had was an already configured system. That means if they had wishes, we did it in 2 weeks. We had a solution for them in 2 weeks, because the system was already pre-configured. And they didn't have any waiting time. What they have experienced we have had hackathons and things like this earlier. And if we had a hackathon, it took then like 6 to 8 months or 9 months to have the solution ready. And they forgot what they really wanted to have on the shop floor. And now they get, for each wish, they get in 2 weeks the next update. So we're working very close together with them for those small improvements with the communication. And it has really, for us, made a big change. Because now they're coming and saying, hey, if I give you my position data, I could have this information. I could have if I look at the plane, I could say, okay, this is the work order. This is the configuration I would need for that. Yeah, it's for them really good. I don't need to go to the drawing and collect that and look at the 14 pages. Yeah? So this is very interesting for us as well, because earlier we have MES systems in place, which was designed by the manufacturing engineering and not the production. It's suited for the manufacturing engineering, yeah, to grab the information they need from the production, not for the production people. Okay, so where are we today? So we are working on the personal-related process data, we call it. That's then, how should the business model look like? Who is the owner of the data? Is Airbus owner of my personal data, or am I the owner of my data? Can I sell it to Airbus? If Airbus want to do an optimization of my movement profile, why shouldn't I earn some money on it? Because I have so much experience and I collected it. Yeah? That could be a quite cool business model. Yeah? As well as if you look at YouTube, if I have a camera on my head and I record the installation, why can't I put it up as a training or information for the other guy? And when he's clicking on that link, why don't I earn money on it as an employee? If I'm interested of driving my education, I like to do something more than just install things. But one thing we can go back to, we had a very, I think it was totally cool project. Huh? It's the same size. So we asked the people to film their installation, because what's happening in the industry is that we do the installation and then we have other people looking at the quality of that installation. Yeah, and it could be the same person who has the qualification, extra qualification to check the other installation. And I said, it's totally waste. Huh? And if we could have some computer vision, and if I really have this head-mounted display and film this sequence, I could, with computer vision, check it immediately with my 3D. Totally cool for an engineering-driven guy. And then the blue collar said, hey, you know, my only possibility to get the next level of money is to be the quality guy looking at the installation. I have no interest of shorting my process time and especially not getting the money for that, that task. So totally wrong, cool use case for engineers or IT guys, but for the production guys, bad use case in that case. Yeah? So what we've done is that, of course, we talked with them and we modified. Of course, we don't take away the process step of qualifications. So we try to help them then instead of having a service on the installation. Yeah? So be aware of how to bring technology and how to bring the information to the guys, that they give you the information you need. And this is what a lesson learned we wrote to have success in digitalization. We learned that if you want to have something from people, you need to give them a service. Yeah? And if they feel comfortable with the service, then you get almost every data you need for your purpose. Yeah? But try to give them a task which they should solve, they will be reluctant. And you have what you call a digital transformation, or you have change management, which everyone is trying to do. And there we can, from the industry, I think, learn a lot about the e-commerce. Because they are looking at the customer, and they are looking at the customer so much, and they are fooling us so much, and collecting so much information about us, which we give them because we want the service. Yeah? And so that's the project we are working on at Airbus in Hamburg. It's a long project, we know that. It's not something which is going to be solved tomorrow. But we know that we have highly educated workers, and why give them always the task and tell them how to do it instead of letting them get the information and service they need. Okay, so for tonight or the afternoon, I really would like to challenge you at 16:45. Looking forward to meet you there, and we talk further on this topic. Okay, thank you very much for listening, and see you in the sky. Any questions? Oh. No? Yeah.
So again, you can go to the microphone there, in the back of you. So thank you very much. I think we might have caught a glimpse of the future of how manufacturing could be different as we go into the next decade, maybe. The business model that you mentioned on, say, earning credits by supporting manufacturing to get better, is that something that you actually implemented already, or is this something where you're still struggling with German unions and a lot of problems I could readily come up with?
Yeah. It's something we're working on with the union together. They were involved directly into the project. What we have promised them is that we don't optimize the production. We optimize the white collar up front first. Yeah? And that was a quite good move to say, because I want to collect data. I want to have that data. Yeah, to be able to of course, I want to optimize the production, but why only optimize the production when I have the opportunity to go up front and to optimize them in advance? Yeah? Because what you see is, if you do the comparison, Google Maps, what happened with the map book companies? Yeah? So if I compare that, my engineering was drawing the maps, my manufacturing engineering was producing the map books, and I, as a consumer, use the map book. And if we would get now collecting the data from the shop floor, I wouldn't actually need the guy translating the information from my maps to the production. And in Hamburg, we have 1,000 of them. So it's a big job we have, and it's a quite nice opportunity we have. Okay, thank you for the question.
Okay.
Yeah?
Okay.
Thank you very much for the good presentation. Heiko Witte, Rolls-Royce. So we work in the same business and face similar challenges. We have make a lot of good experience in connecting blue and white collar work. One of the big obstacles is what you dwelled on a little bit, the systems, the design systems, manufacturing systems, and the connectivity in between. Maybe you can give an example. How do you manage that to bridge the gaps from the data interface to actually make design information available for on the shop floor to get into position-based work instructions and vice versa?
Okay, so the first challenge we had and what we have looked at is that our engineering data is printed. As I said, we have 99 years of having the data, yeah, and we put it into archives. So our engineering system was made only for printing. And putting that in a device is quite difficult because you have 41 pages or 50 pages of drawings. But in the map book, I had as well 100 pages if I looked at Germany. Yeah? And what we have worked on there is how to bring the information out of the context information we need from engineering in form of objects and attributes to the the equipment on the shop floor. We're still working a lot. We're going to get a new PLM system, and we work with them together to really get that object and attribute, because our old system, no one is really working on that brownfield anymore. We have some solutions of reading attributes and objects out of 2D drawings from PDF to bring to the shop floor. So that's one of those solutions we have as well. But as I said, we just started with the feedback loop back to the engineering because we didn't have that yesterday. And that's what's new. Yeah? Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So regarding the time, we have one very last quick question from the digital attendees. How do you convince the operators to use a head-mounted device?
Well, it depends on the size of the head-mounted device. We have done lots of research on that, and we have found one which is very light. It's a little bit less than 500 grams, which you then can use almost the whole shift. So there's a bargain. Yeah? If you use one of those larger components, you can see a lot, but they are weighing 2 kilos, and you can only have it for 15, 20 minutes, and then your neck is starting to hurt. So it has been a compromise the whole time to see again how long do they work on the work orders, and what kind of head-mount display do we find for them. And we have found now one, and we're working with that company quite well, and they as well developing new lighter versions for the whole shift. So I'm very happy with that company. Yeah. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank
Henrik, thank you from my side to you.
Yeah.
It's very impressive to see how digitalization could be human-centric.
Thank you.
So that's, I think, so a great success inside to know that you only have success with the people, not without, right?
Yes.
Inside.
Thank you very
so
much.
Okay.
Thank you.